How is it possible to make an already dominant build even more insurmountable for your opponent? Well, I made it happen. Juggernaut Volume 2 pushes the needle even more for more survivability, if you can believe it, more crit, allowing you to comfortably coast through the content that you find the most difficult, mainly PvP, and helps with that anxiety you would feel normally in the dark zone. The purpose of this build is to be efficient on both ends of the spectrum. Although it may not be as powerful in legendary content, don't worry, I have something for that as well. Once again, a build that I had to share with the community so that you can share in the excitement that I feel when using this build. I really hope this helps you out as much as it has me, but let me not let you wait any longer and show you what I have going on here. Oh man, you know I had to do it. Y'all know I had to do it. Juggernaut Volume 2, and this one is pretty much critted out and has a little bit more armor. So if you didn't see Juggernaut Part 1, you got to go check that build out. It was just very dominant, and it's kind of a weird build because it doesn't really work that well in open world PvE like legendary missions. It works really good in heroic missions, but I think this build is pretty much primed for the dark zone and conflict, just because of the way it's set up. You don't have as many skill tiers as you'd like, but it's enough to get the job done and have the advantage on other players. So without further ado, let me show you what I got going on here and show you the changes that I made. As you can see right off the bat, I have 1.9 million armor. And I don't know why, but I expertised this mask to 14% armor, and it still didn't make it go to 2 million. All the armor on this build is maxed out, and I still don't understand why I wasn't able to get that 2 million armor. Anyways, let's get into the build, okay? First of all, I'm rocking with the capacitor, and this right here is what holds this build together when it comes to the damage. If you look at the exotic attachments on the capacitor, you got 10% crit chance for conductive focal and 30% crit damage for discharge electrode. That's a ton of crit just for having this weapon, and it helps you a lot when it comes to the crit on this build, and that's why I said I wanted to go that route. I still have some rainbow rolls on here, but let me show you what I got going. You're not going to really worry about the secondary here. This is just surge. All you're going to be using is the capacitor, and if you want to use the Maxim 9 for some extra skill damage for headshotting enemies, you can do that too. Another part that holds this build together is the Ninja Bike Messenger backpack, which gives you a second piece for whatever piece that you have on your build. So let's dive right in, okay? Initially, I wanted to do Unbreakable. That's what I did on my first Juggernaut build, because I just wanted to be as tanky as possible. I didn't want to go down, I didn't want to be bothered by damage, so the Unbreakable helped me survive. But I wanted to go more in the direction of damage for this build, which is why I have Obliterate. Critical hits increase total weapon damage by 1% for 10 seconds, stacks up to 20 times. So you can get 20% weapon damage. But I have a question, and I wanted to ask this for a while. Look at this talent right here, Spark. This used to be different, but now this is what it does. Damaging enemies with a skill increases total weapon damage by 15%. Now, the perfect version of this grants 18%. But my question is this better than Obliterate for a hybrid build? Because with Obliterate, you have to stack up the crits in order to get the weapon damage. So let me know down in the comments if you think this or Spark will be better for a hybrid build. And this is the attribute composition you want for the entire build: critical hit damage and skill damage. Now, I know the build that I had before, the King of Year 6, had the critical hit damage and the status effects, but I just wanted to go back to this style because the skills that I'm using, I need to deal as much skill damage as possible, plus the skill damage I'm getting from the capacitor's 40 stacks. Okay, Palisade still works, grants for the 3-piece 1 skill tier, and then armor on kill for the first piece, 60% health for the second piece. You're gonna have all 3 of these because with the Ninja Bike backpack, the 2-piece gives me the 3rd. And then of course I have the Picaro's holster for the second piece that gives me 1 plus skill tier and the 10% weapon damage that I get just for having this bad boy on. As you can see, I have everything rolled to armor, and I still have 4 skill tiers. On the Juggernaut Part 1, I had 5 skill tiers, but I said, let me just maximize the armor as much as I can. I have 1.9, and man, I could feel this. This also helps with the fact that I don't have unbreakable, because you know that gives you an extra life. But this right here allows me to survive a little bit longer to get those stacks. And here's what helped me get to 1.9 million armor. Anything else that I used didn't get me there, like this Providence mask. It has the right attributes, but it didn't get me to 1.9. It brings me down to 1.8, which is not good enough for me. But this is the mask that you want. It's called Chill Out. This allows you to have 2 mod slots, but the trade-off is that they only give you 1 attribute, right? And that's critical damage. So I guess it's like having a regular mask on, isn't it? 2 attributes in 1 mod. I don't know what's special about this. Maybe they nerfed this a long time ago. Who knows? For both of the mods, I have critical hit chance in here to maximize that as much as I can. I'm going to show you how much crit I have at the end of this video, so just stay tuned. But here's what allowed me to get more crit: the knee pads. Circle of Concern. For the first piece, I know it gives me SMG damage, but I want it for the 13% crit damage I get for the second piece, which 𝐿𝐻𝐵𝐺 is allowing me to attain. Let me tell you about the skills. I don't know, man. I cannot get away from this sticky bomb. It just helps me out in so many situations. I mean, it handicaps the enemies so much. But when you're playing PvE, it's good to have drone and turret by your side, just because autonomous damage is something you can't pass up. But for PvP, this is like chef's kiss. So good. You shoot it at an enemy's feet, they catch on fire, they can't aim and shoot at you, and they're done for. I know people get so mad at me when I do this, but I just don't care, honestly. I'm gonna abuse it as much as I can. And for my second skill, I'm using the Defender drone. This is a good balance. I don't have to have 2 offensive skills. The burn sticky bomb is good enough for me to deal the damage I need and play tactful enough, but the Defender drone is just too good, man. With 4 skill tiers, I get a little bit less damage reduction with the Defender drone, 21% as opposed to 25%, but in PvE it's 42%, which is great. I could use a Crusader shield and get the maximum damage reduction from that, so that's an option too. But anyway, let me show you the stats. All right, now these are impressive. 50% crit chance, and that's because of the conductive focal on the capacitor, that 10% crit chance, and I get another, and all the crit chance mods I have in my gear is what's allowing this. And I have almost 150% critical hit damage. Players on my team that have Coyote's mask are going to increase that even more. And this is basically a complete build that allows me to dominate. Like I said, it's pretty much a dark zone and conflict build. I wouldn't really take it into legendary unless you're running a build like this. The King of TU22, this build that I made a couple weeks ago, and it had 6 skill tiers. Just swap this out, use the drone and turret for your skill composition, and you're good to go. But Juggernaut is pretty much to annoy everybody in PvP and farm with dominance in the dark zone. But that's it, y'all. I know I had to bring this build out because it was destined to come. More tanky, more crit. I mean, what more could you want in a build called Juggernaut like this? Let me know what you think of it in the comment section below, and I appreciate you watching to the end. And tell me how I can make this build better. There are a lot of players running around with 1 million armor or less, or 1.3 mil armor. I think that it's time to make a sniper build so I could just one-shot everybody in PvP. I haven't made a sniper build in a long time, but I was looking at one of my sniper montages that I made like 4 years ago, and it got me hyped, so I need to get back into the lab and make one. But anyways, that'll do it for this one, fam. I'll see you in my next video. Be right out.